always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to accompany a son's birthday. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. My son turns 14 today. In a recent program about his graduation into high school, I said that he had been chosen as one of 2 valedictorians, quite an honor, to be given the opportunity to address the graduating class. And now he adds 1 more year to his resume. This is my special birthday wish to him this hour, something he can store away on his iPod for future consideration. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. John Lennon with the song Beautiful Boy, and Loggins and Messina with Danny's Song. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. After my daughter was born, my wife and I wondered how we ever got along without her before she entered into our world. In fact, we try to remember what it was like before she was born, and all we can think of is how there was an empty place in our lives and our home that needed to be filled with her bright light. I really was of the firm belief that a spirit as bright and as beautiful as hers could only be created once. That was until my son arrived. Now I'm convinced the miracle can happen more than once. I've done programs for her on her birthday. It's now my son's turn. My son plays the drums and is a rep goalie in his chosen sport of hockey, and he's very good at both. I used to play the drums in a former life, but I never had any aspirations to play hockey. In fact, if truth be told, I can't even skate. So that's something that he had to learn on his own. I've never been the type of hockey parent, though, who tries to live out my so-called lost dreams through my son, which reminds me of this. Jim Solish in the Peoria, Illinois Journal-Star wrote, and I quote, "When I was 17, I was supposed to be the starting quarterback my senior year, but I wanted to quit. And I had to figure out how to tell my father that I'd rather not give up my after-school job to play another year of football. When I finally told him, he said, 'I'm proud of you. You figured out something that took me 40 years to realize. To follow your heart, not other people's expectations.' In that moment, my father gave more to me than many fathers give their sons in a lifetime." Unquote. Jim Solish in the Peoria, Illinois Journal-Star. This hour, a little of what a father can give his son and what the outcome is for that gift. This is CHFI.com. I'm Don Jackson. Hayley Sales with What You Want. Amanda Marshall and Believe in You, and Slaight with Some Great Expectations. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. I'm beginning to see the traits that will make up his adult life. Both my children are making their own unique places in this world, and I couldn't be happier. Every time I'm with my daughter and son, I feel truly blessed. I can't help but remember my father every time I think about my children and the kind of values that he stood for while he was alive. Mary Howitt wrote, "God sends children to enlarge our hearts and to make us unselfish and full of kindly sympathies and affection." Luther Vandross and Dance with My Father. And Fight for Fighting with the Riddle. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. A few times over his early school career, my son was away at camp. His homecoming once reminded me of this. Frank Rich in the New York Times wrote, "What I most remember about arriving at my first summer camp was the sensation of relief as I surveyed a world I could make my own, far from the world of my parents. Yet, like every parent, I want to believe my own sons have no need of such an escape, that their stay at camp is merely a vacation, not a rite of passage. But they're having too much fun for that. If visiting day is a melancholy experience for parents, it's not just because our own camping days are long over, but because we see there's a part of our children that will never come home again." CHFI.com. Phil Collins' True Colors, and Amy Sky's Ordinary Miracles. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. This was written by E.T. Sullivan. When God wants a great work done in the world, or a great wrong righted, He goes about it in a very unusual way. He doesn't stir up His earthquakes or send forth His thunderbolts. Instead, He has a helpless baby born, perhaps in a simple home and of some obscure mother. And then God puts the idea into the mother's heart, and she puts it into the baby's mind. And then God waits. The greatest forces in the world are not the earthquakes and the thunderbolts. The greatest forces in the world are babies. John Mayer with No Such Thing, and Whitney Houston and The Greatest Love of All. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Finally, this hour, a little bit of advice. This has got to be one of the wisest counsels I've ever come across in all my years doing the radio program. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. If, by Rudyard Kipling. One last thought. Happy birthday, son. You're on an amazing journey. It's called life, and you've done so well. Your mother and I are so proud of you. All the best on your special day. Happy 14th. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.